Hey, Rebecca.
Hi.
Would you mind starting out by saying your name and your role and where you work?
My name is Rebecca Priest. I am the guide of St. John's Greenhouse Project. Do you want me to do that again?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Rebecca Priest, and I'm the guide at St. John's Greenhouse Project in Rochester, New York.
Excellent. And today we're talking about surplus safety. And I was wondering, for those who don't know, if you could just start with how would you define surplus safety?
Well, for me, when I think about surplus safety, I think about how we as healthcare practitioners and care partners, people who genuinely love human beings, really do so much to keep people safe because we care so much about them and because we care so much about our organizations that we actually limit their growth as human beings and we limit the possibilities of who they can be as elders.
And how in the greenhouse home have you worked to combat surplus safety?
Not always easy. Surplus safety starts with a fundamental truth in healthcare as it exists today, and that is my job is to keep you safe. So if my job is to keep you safe and someone tells you, yes, and your job is to help you grow, and sometimes those two things conflict, it really takes on a need for leadership to help people get a sense of confidence in how thorough they are as care partners in helping people to stay safe yet grow their autonomy and their connectedness and their sense of engagement in their environmental surroundings and in their lives. So one of the struggles that we've had at the greenhouse is that we have a fantastic backyard. And that backyard is a safe backyard for people to explore. However, there's concern that people may fall. And one of the things we've had to really talk about is, yeah, people can fall. They can fall in their rooms, they can fall in the house. They could have fell back at our building where we had 220-foot hallways. And we have to really talk about what's the fear of falling. Is it that we feel like if people fall, then we haven't done our job? Or is it that if people are living and happen to have an emergency, then we have to act differently as care partners? So I think one of the things that I, as a leader, have really worked with the team on is how do we incrementally increase people's ability to be risk takers as human beings? And we start by talking about our own risk taking, really. So I have a pretty high tolerance for risk as a greenhouse guide. I wanted to start something that was relatively new and relatively different in long-term care. But I also work with people who have much more compliant personalities than I do. So we have to think about who is this elder and what is their risk tolerance and how do we meet their needs for risk here in a way that promotes them to continue to grow as human beings. So one of the things that we do is start to talk as a team about where are the safe places that people can explore, excursion, go out by themselves, where we can maintain line of sight. How do we as a team document those things that say, I'm watching Mrs. Smith, she's going outside, she's picking the garden, flowers from the garden or the berries from the garden. Then she comes back and tends to sit down and relax and kind of observe her behavior with a safe level of oversight. And then how do we take that and say, can we make the environment safer for her outside in the backyard? Can we make her have additional resources so that she's safer in the backyard? And how can we as a team keep enough of an eye on her that we feel comfortable with our role and she knows that she has our support and her safety, but she also has the ability to go and participate in her life and in her environment.
And where have you, can you think of a specific situation maybe and where you've had a challenge around surplus safety?
Sure. I think one of the traditional things about long-term care that I've experienced in working is once there's a breach of safety of any kind, there is a rash pendulum swing to make your environment the safest microcosm possible. If you will, to make sure that everything is secure and everything is very controlled and everything is the utmost safest environment, less wrapping people in bubble wrap. And there are some people who'd like to do that. But I think one of the big challenges that we've had is with safe exiting of the building. And I can think of what has happened is we started with a very liberal exit. Anyone could basically walk out of the building unless they were identified as an individualized need who really needed more support. We had a plan in place for that, and our system failed. The immediate response was to go back towards a most controlled, nobody can exit without a passcode or without a key. And now here we are 3 months later, and as the guide of the home, what I'm pushing is to say, how can we really start to relax on our security and help people be able to participate in their community when they're safe to do so? And how can we get the people who aren't safe to do so independently to do that as part of a community? So we've really been working with a team to watch behaviors and to kind of monitor where people are leaving and what they're leaving for, and also to get people out and engaged in the community. And with that comes the discussion of where can we relax on some of our doors. And slowly and very intentionally, we will relax on those, and those doors will be open so that people can go out into their backyard, or people can leave their front door without feeling like they're in a lockdown place.
And can you tell me about a situation where you had a success, where there was a risk? A person wanted to do something, maybe they were diabetic and they wanted cake, maybe they wanted to go outside. A time where there was a risk and that you were able to work through it with the team and create that space for risk.
I think a lot of time the risk rests more in our hearts as care partners than it does in elders' worlds as people who've lived for 50, 60, 70 years independently. So the first step that I always take is, who's got the issue with this? And what is the core values? What are the core values that are really coming into play? So I know a guy who happens to live here and he uses a power chair. One of his core values is that he loves to go out and explore his community. Has some friends who lives down the street, but his driving skills, I think, were a little bit compromised, according to some staff. So we had to figure out, well, what's the safest plan for him. And one of the, just as I talked about process, one of the things that we did is we said, well, let's support Lou through his leaving in a way that demonstrates that we've watched him for safety, guided and counseled him, so that he can have the right tools, that when he leaves the building, he has access to us if he needs help. He has safety plans. He's thought through some of the challenges that he may face. Let's talk with his family so that they're on board. And what we've done is really incrementally been able to support his increased autonomy. It wasn't just, okay, go ahead and you can have a run of the neighborhood. It was, let's do it side by side for a little while and go see how we do. A week later, we've done it side by side, and we start to maybe, we'll give you, a within view radius. We'll give you a 230-foot start, and we'll walk behind you, make sure everything's okay. And when we've done that for a week or two, we can kind of come back and say, all right, here's what I'm thinking. When you hit this corner intersection, give us a call and let us know how you're doing. And when that follows through, he goes to his last destination point. Now, if the challenge comes up with that and we say, oh, he didn't check in, or we're concerned something's wrong, we have to have a plan in place. What do? First, we might call if he doesn't answer. Then we might go walking around his route. If he's not on his route, we have a plan in place to do it. But we know that we haven't negligently said go off and excurd in the community. We've really been diligent to help him have as much autonomy and success and life as possible for him.
And as the first community-based greenhouse home, how has that experience of long-term care, how is it different here?
The St. John's Greenhouse homes are literally a part of a new development. And there's about 155 neighbors that we have that are just next door neighbors. We're part of a shared homeowners association. We have backyards that back up to each other's. It's been incredible. We've gotten to know neighbors who walk their dogs by our backyard. We have neighbors who come help us weed our gardens. And similarly, we have neighbors who can be a part of our infrastructure of safety. A lot of the times we think, I'm the healthcare expert, I need to keep you safe. And where the community greenhouses have really helped is, this is a neighborhood that wants to promote life for elders who need long-term care. So we use not just the people who are neighbors, but the 9 other people who live in the house. The staff that work here work together to promote a sense of community and connection. It's pretty magical.
And Rebecca, is there any final thoughts or wisdoms that you'd like to share with us today?
Wisdoms. I was talking to the greenhouse team yesterday. We were spending some time together in a time of reflection. And I think that often with new projects, you get so busy operating that you forget to pause and reflect on what you've done extremely brilliantly in your opening and your operations, and where you really want to see your team stretch. And we had a chance to kind of sit down and connect. And my thought as we were together was that so much in healthcare promotes individual accountability and individual autonomy. But what that does is burns us out and makes us bitter as care partners. The model of the greenhouse, and what I've really seen here with these incredible teams, is that this isn't about an individual success. It's really about a return to communities raising people from infancy to elderhood. And it's about how together we are much, much more capable of supporting meaning for all of us in the neighborhood, the kids, the adults, and the elders who live in the long-term care building that happens to be the greenhouse in the development.